Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to Cm42TV. We're here today to start yet another video series. I'd like to start a new one, just because I've not got enough. Monthly for this one would be ideal, because I had an idea in terms of reviewing movies. You know, in terms of reviewing individual films, you kind of run out of things to say, and you know, these videos could last, 5-6 minutes or whatever, and they could be kind of nothing. However, I had an idea in my head to kind of do like a sort of greatest hits. I did a similar thing in October of last year. What I did was I called it Horror Movie Month, and that video was still available, by the way. And that was before the big massive resurgence of the channel. That was when I would put out a few videos a year or whatever, back in the dark days of 2017. But that one was pretty good. That was Horror Movie Month, and basically what I did was throughout the month of October, I watched a horror film and I reviewed it, but what I did was I split it up into like 7 or 8 different clips, put them all together in this sort of 50-minute video. And I kind of like the idea. This is sort of, I'm not going to do, well, I'll see how it goes. I was thinking about doing that throughout the month. Every time I watch a movie, record a 5-minute, little thoughts, initial review thing of the film, and then put them all together and stuff. And that's an idea. Maybe that'll happen, down the line. But I thought it'd be cool just to take note of all the films that I watched this year, and or this month. I do it anyway. I take a note of all the films I watched throughout the year anyway. But in terms of noting them down properly and properly saying, okay, what did I think of this one? How did that lead to me watching the other one? And just kind of review them all. I'll just kind of do a summary of what I've watched this past month in a new video series. So this is the first edition of that. I don't know if we'll have a second one. This is definitely the inaugural one, and we'll see how it goes. These are all the movies that I watched. I think all the movies I watched in July of 2018, starting with the biggest film that I believe came out this year, or came out this month. I keep saying year. I'm used to making like sort of the top 10s and stuff. What of this month was the release of the sequel of The Incredibles. A massive, massive deal for fans of the original film. Because of that, I went back and watched the first one on the 16th of July, because I've noted down the dates of when I watched them, because you clearly, obviously, all care what day of the month I watched these films. But on the 16th of July, I watched The Incredibles, the very first one from 2004. It was funny, I kind of forgot how good it was, because I'd watched it kind of in passing before. It was just kind of on. Didn't really pay much, attention to it, but in terms of sitting down and properly watching it, it was a good time. Did you like the new chair, by the way? Look, brand new chair. It was supposed to be a birthday present, but the postman came with a massive box, and it had a picture of a chair on the side of it, and my father was like, yes, it was a chair for your birthday. So I got it early. Nice new chair for the videos and the podcast. Lovely, very comfy. Headrest, armrests, ready to go. Anyway, The Incredibles. This chair's incredible. That's why I went onto that tangent. So yeah, when I was watching The Incredibles again this month, obviously not studying it, but kind of preparing to see the second one and picking up on wee things, I forgot how much I loved this film when I was a youngster. When I was younger, and I just loved all wrestling, and I loved all TV shows. All my favourite films from that time just completely go over my head, because I hardly remember watching them until I watched them again, and then it all comes back to me. It happened recently with another film. I can't remember what it was, but I watched a really bad film, and I was like, I've seen this before, and then I realised I'd loved it when I was younger, and I was like, oh my god, this is one of my favourite films when I was younger. This was another case, and I always, you always know how good The Incredibles is. It's considered one of the best, not only one of the best animated films of all time, not only one of the best Disney films of all time, but also just one of the best superhero films of all time. And that's kind of where the inspiration for this comes from, you know what I mean? It's like, you see all these great Pixar films going out there, and you see how they're all linked with Pixar theories and stuff like that, but you look back at them and just go, these films on their own are so feckin' good. Look at Toy Story, which we'll get to later, because I watched Toy Story this month, that I haven't noted down, but I did watch Toy Story, which is, I watched it because I was on a sort of Disney kick, because I'd just come back from Florida. I'll get to that in a second, but you forget how good these films are on their own, you know what I mean, in terms of writing and animation and comedy. They kind of make your childhood, and I was thinking about making a video, or at least a podcast, about that, just calling it, the films that made our childhood, or something like that, because there's so many films that you hold in such high regard, and they actually still get to you, you know what I mean, and everybody goes through it. It's not such a wanky thing to say, because everybody kind of does it, but I loved this. The Incredibles was one of my favourite ones when I was younger. I had the DVD, and it was a cool slip, and like the slip was kind of not glittery, but it was like a different material, and then you took it out and the case was all red and stuff. It was cool. But yeah, what a film. It's funny, the one thing that always stuck in my mind from this film was when Mr. Incredible is really sort of angry and he's getting out of the car, he's just been fired, and he picks up the car and he turns around, it's the wee guy on the bike, and he's got the bubble gum and it pops. Always remember finding that hilarious, and he was like, at the end he goes, "That was totally wicked!" That always made me laugh, and then I was waiting for it, and then it came, and I was like, boom, that was it, that's what made me laugh when I was younger. So I loved The Incredibles, I loved most Disney films, but as I said earlier, I wasn't a big film guy when I was really, really young. I was all wrestling, I was all TV, or Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, that sort of thing. But this was definitely one, it comes to mind is, you know, is The Incredibles. Star Wars kind of came a little bit later. I got into Star Wars in 2005 when Revenge of the Sith came out, but Incredibles was definitely one. The Scooby-Doo movie always comes to mind. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie always comes to mind. And then always ones like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and even the 89 Batman kind of pops up there as well. But there's so many great ones from my childhood, but one of the ones that really sticks out in my mind is The Incredibles. And I think The Incredibles 2, which had such a hype when it was released in July, totally lived up to expectations. It was ridiculously good. One of the better sequels we've seen this year. I thought Deadpool 2 was a really good sequel. This one blows it out of the water. I don't know why this is called Incredibles 2. It's not The Incredibles 2. Maybe it's a grammar thing. I don't know, but yeah, it's so good to see it on the big screen, because obviously I don't think I saw the first Incredibles in the cinema. I know I definitely saw Monsters Inc. because that was my first film I saw in the cinema. There's another one of childhood favourites, Monsters Inc. But this could easily have been, just as effective for me, as a child, and I could have probably seen it in the cinema. I don't know, but it was just nice to see it. There is just something. I just did a podcast about it that you should check out. It's on iTunes and Podomatic and Podbean and Apple Podcasts and all those places you can get the good bit. We did a podcast recently called "Why Do We Still Go to the Cinema?" and we asked each other, that's Aaron, Dockard and I, my original co-host of the Good Bit, came back and we had a good old school, old-fashioned Good Bit episode where we just chatted for an hour. But anyway, we talked about why do we still go to the cinema, and one of the main things that was brought up in that episode was, for that experience, that you remember these things, you remember films you saw in the cinema, you remember feeling the sound, and you see it on the big screen and the reactions from the audience and stuff. This was perfect. Animated films, obviously might not be as effective on the big screen in certain cases if it's badly done, but ones that are perfectly done, like The Incredibles 2, superb film, superb animation, will leave a lasting impression, that's for sure. And I can't recommend these two films enough. And as I said earlier on, with The Incredibles and stuff like that, leading on to another Disney film, you go to Toy Story, which was one of the ones that another one of the ones I watched this year, because I just came back from America, which I beat to death. I've got the vlogs on YouTube at Cm42TV. I also have the haul from all the stuff we picked up. It's called Orlando Haul, which I thought was really quite fitting. I got some nice t-shirts and stuff and some Funko Pops that you could check out as well. That's on Cm42TV. But we also did a full podcast. It's called Tales from Orlando. It was episode 42 of the Good Bit podcast, also available on iTunes. This is Plug City. Because I was there, and I was obviously in Disney, and I was in Universal Studios and stuff like that, just seeing all the sort of references to the films and the Pixar stuff and the DreamWorks stuff as well, just kind of gave me that itch to kind of watch some animated films. And I'd watched The Incredibles and Incredibles 2, and I kind of wanted to check out Toy Story, so I did. I was like, fuck it, let's watch Toy Story, excuse my French. And because I know about Toy Story as well, I was a big toy fan, I suppose, when you're younger, it sounded weird. I loved the wrestling figures and I had all that sort of good stuff, so Toy Story did kind of have, an effect on me. Maybe not to the degree that I thought it would. I don't look at Toy Story and think, that's me, that's my childhood, because it's, it came out a little bit before that, and came out in 1995, which was 2 years before I was born. So I didn't really, grow up with it and stuff. I watched it when I was younger, and I watched it now, but it's not really one that I've always kind of went back to. That being said though, in 2010, I think it was the year it came out, when Toy Story 3 came out, the first film that I can remember that I was, physically crying at was Toy Story 3, and that's because of the whole, your toys may die and your toys will be taken away, and because you're growing up, you're leaving your toys. You know, it was things that you go through, and everyone goes through. It was sad, and it was a hard thing for me to deal with, because, you know, wrestling figures and things like that, Playmobil and things like that, were such a big part of my childhood. They really were. So it's kind of sad to see it, you know, move on. But Toy Story 3 did it so well, and then Toy Story 4 is coming out. It's a perfect trilogy. Toy Story, the 1, 2, and 3 series. Will 4 live up to expectations? Will it be as good as the first 3? I hope so, fingers crossed. I think it will. You can't really go wrong with Toy Story, and Pixar doesn't tend to go wrong very often. So yeah, Toy Story is a belter, and you forget how big of a cast that is as well. You got Ali Emery in there, which totally gets forgotten about from Full Metal Jacket. He plays as the army soldier guy. And of course you got Tom Hanks and everybody else, and Tim Allen is in it. And there's so many big names, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Who knows? I don't know. Has the cast been announced for Toy Story 4? I don't know, but hopefully we'll get some more big names in there. So there you go. There's the animated portion of the films I watched this month. Another one I saw. Yeah, I actually saw this one in the cinema. It was called Hotel Artemis, and it starred Jodie Foster and Dave Bautista. One of the main reasons why I went. Charlie Day was also in it, and a special appearance from the one and only Jeff Goldblum. When I was reading the cast, I was like, surely not. But yeah, all 4 of them in there, plus a few extras, a few other good ones. There was a really good actress in there. She was like a badass. She was doing lots of kung fu stuff. She was really cool. She was awesome as well. And there's a black guy, can't remember his name. I've never seen him before. So, but those 4 names can talk you into the building in their own right. But so Hotel Artemis was basically, the hotel is run by Jodie Foster, and she just gets satisfaction when she's a doctor, and she gets satisfaction making people better and helping them out when they're in need. So she opens a hotel, or the hotel is still open, but she runs it. And this is 10 years in the future in California, and it's basically a hotel for criminals. And you know, during this big apocalypse that's going on, there's riots and there's wars going on. 10 years in the future. I thought that was a bit of a weird touch. Only 10 years there's going to be riots and wars and stuff in California. I hope not, but yeah, it's a hotel for criminals. And you know, even just saying that out loud, it sounds like a fucking great idea, doesn't it? Like a hotel, that sounds like a great film. A great film. You know, you could do anything you wanted and you could still get away with it in some way. You could be safe in the Hotel Artemis. And Bautista's kind of like the security guard. He's the big guy. He kind of makes sure that the criminals don't overstay their welcome. Charlie Day is like a millionaire sort of guy who is in the doghouse for loaning money, I think, or something like that. Charlie Day was funny as ever, but there's, oh my god, his voice like that, man! That was, that echoed, that was so loud, but that was on display as well. Jeff Goldblum was funny as anything. He was kind of like a big deal. He was like a father of a gang sort of thing. It was a really fun movie. I didn't think it was great, and I kind of had the potential to be great. I was sitting there watching it going, this isn't as good as I think it should have been, with this cast and this, you know, this great idea. It's kind of like The Purge. It was actually quite like The Purge, the film, actually, but I'm saying this in terms of like the way I felt about the Purge films. Such an amazing idea, and I think it could have been executed so much better, maybe with a bigger cast. But this one has the big cast. This one has the big names: Jodie Foster, Bautista, Jeff Goldblum, Charlie Day. You know, it should have been amazing. It should have been the Film of the Year category. You know, a hotel for criminals during riots. That's fucking sounds great. But it was okay. It was good. Not great, but I probably wouldn't watch it again. But it was alright. It was a good time. No big deal. Always nice to see Bautista, Jodie Foster, and Bautista on the same screen. It's just a bit daft. It was funny when I was watching it, actually. I was thinking back to a time where Bautista was on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talkers Jericho, and you know, he's one of the biggest movie stars in the world now, which is ridiculous. And Jericho's kind of asking him what films you got, you know, what roles you got coming up, and Bautista's like, you know, it's a big deal. You know, doors are opening for me, and there's going to be a film coming up soon. I'm going to be working directly opposite Jodie Foster, and that was what, 2 years ago or something, or last year. And now the film's there. You know, we've just seen the film. That's it. So it just shows you. Yeah, Hotel Artemis, not bad, but not great. So check it out if you want a bit of, you know, switch your mind off and just enjoy a film. But it's not great. It was okay. So Hotel Artemis is another one. And then speaking of blockbuster films at the cinema and biggest, you know, movie stars of all time, I made sure to catch my boy Dwayne in the cinema before Skyscraper was out of cinemas. That's a big thing with cinemas, definitely in this country anyway. Films just come and go, especially smaller films. You know, you get about a week window to see really small films, and that's why it's so great to catch these great films in the cinema. You go, oh man, I'm so happy I found that in cinema. And then of course you get these big films like Skyscraper and Avengers and Star Wars and stuff like that that stay in the cinema for weeks. Not got an issue with that because I enjoy the films and I go to see them, and that's fine. But I kind of like these smaller films. Not that Skyscraper's a small film, but even a film like Hotel Artemis, even though it's got a star-studded cast, it's relatively smaller than these films. You know, that should have been in cinemas a bit longer. I think I was only in for a week and a bit, so yeah. Skyscraper, another one I wanted to make sure I could check out. In the last video in the Orlando Hall, I was saying it's always nice to support Dwayne, even though he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood. But there's still like a hint there, like I do want to go and support him. Like, even though he definitely does not need any money, he does not need any more fame, he is still one of my boys, even though he does not qualify for a boys stable. However, he is, you know, any film that The Rock is going to be in, or any film Batista is an example. One of the main reasons I saw Hotel Artemis was because of Batista, you know. I guess that's the reason why I love Guardians almost more than any other Avengers film. But any film The Rock's going to be in, I'm all for. I saw Jumanji, you know, last year. I mean, I like Kevin Hart and Jack Black and things like that. That looked like a good film. But my point is, Skyscraper was on when I was in Universal Studios in Orlando. Skyscraper everywhere, poster, poster, poster. As soon as you walk in, you know, if you've been to Universal Studios, you know, when you enter the cinema is to the right. It's so big, it's got a freaking cinema on your right hand side, and there's actually a picture that I took of me pointing to The Rock's name on the billboard that just says Dwayne Johnson Skyscraper, a big picture of him. It's just kind of nice to see. It always gave me a wee smile when I walk past it every day going to Universal Studios. So Skyscraper, yeah, awesome. It is your 100% blockbuster Hollywood film. You need to switch your mind off and just enjoy the film. Great action flick. It's just The Rock trying to save his family. He's kind of like a business guy, and he's in Hong Kong, and this big skyscraper thing is next to this massive building. The building catches on fire because there's people trying to take over it to steal some money, to steal some plans for something. And basically what he has to do is The Rock has to try and save his family that are stuck in the hotel, and then the bad guys get his family, so then The Rock becomes enemies with the bad guys because he has to try and save his daughter. Total Die Hard sort of thing. Obviously maybe not as good as Die Hard, but definitely Die Hard sort of idea. So there's The Rock just running about, jumping from skyscraper to building like it's no one's business. You know, always good to see. You know, when he's fighting folk. It looked like a fun film to do, and even in the trailer when you see him jumping to the building, you know, it's really cool to see on the big screen. That's another one. You need to see these big blockbusters on the big screen, or you're not going to get that full experience. You know what I mean? So it was a good time. Only issue was, I'll happily see The Rock in anything, so it's not like, oh, what is this I'm seeing on screen, this acting. That's not the case at all. I'm happy to watch The Rock in anything. Issue with this was, there was fucking conversations going on in the cinema galore. Down the bottom right behind me, to my left, just people talking. Now I understand this is a loud film, and you can talk fine in it, you can whisper and I probably won't hear you. But see when you're just talking like you're doing a play and you're on stage and you're projecting your voice to an audience of 200 in the cinema, you don't fucking need to do that. It really frustrated me. It really annoyed me, and it really hindered my experience of the film. And it was funny because my sister was seeing Mamma Mia 2 at the same time I was seeing this film. And she said the exact same thing. She came out and there was folks singing and stuff. Obviously that's a musical where it's one of the most feel-good films of all time, but still. Like I was sitting there and I thought it was a group of girls that were talking behind me, and I kept, you know, I didn't want to ruin their day, and even though they were ruining my experience, but I'm too nice for that. I didn't want to turn around and shout at them, create a scene, because then you need to sit for the rest of the movie knowing you've just sort of made an ass of yourself. And they could you could have easily just laughed at me and continued doing it, and it would have been very embarrassing, so I didn't do it. However, I should have. I just kept turning my head, maybe they'd get the hint. And at the end of the film finally finished, the credits are rolling, I stood up and I put my jacket back on, I turned round, and it was just like two 6-year-old boys. Two 6 to 8-year-old boys, they'd come to see, you know, Skyscraper with their mum, and they maybe had never been to the cinema before. That could be their first ever film, and they don't get it. They don't get you can't shout out, and you don't get that you can't talk at full volume even though it's really loud. They're just blah 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 blah, like so loudly, and The Rock jumps from skyscraper to building, and it's things like, that would never happen, blah blah blah. It just takes you totally out of the moment, and it removes you from the room, and you're like, You just want to enjoy the film and you can't because of these little bastards talking nonsense. So that kind of threw me off. But Skyscraper, I totally recommend it for a good fun action film. You can't take it seriously. Come on to fuck, you can't. I'm swearing like mad today. Must be in a bad mood. These young boys have annoyed me. So yeah, it's The Rock in an action film trying to save his daughter from a burning building. Yeah, check it out. It's great. Support The Rock. You can't beat the boys in action. And then I mentioned Mamma Mia 2. There will be a full podcast about Mamma Mia 2 coming in a couple of weeks, I think, or under a week. Let's see, when's it due to go out? Let's just check the wee calendar. I'll be right with you. It's due to come out on, I believe it's August 10th. August 10th will be the Mamma Mia 2 episode of The Good Bit. I'm excited for that one. It was a good one. We recorded it moments after we saw the film. And so I don't really want to talk about it too much here, but let me just tell you this. In preparation, I watched, obviously, the first Mamma Mia. I like to do that. If I'm seeing a sequel thing or number 7, I'll try and watch number 6. If I'm seeing something 2, I'll try and watch number 1. Just to kind of, even though I've seen it before, just to kind of refresh my mind and kind of act as if it's like a second, you know, a different part to it or whatever, and a continuation, even if it's not. But Mamma Mia 2 was coming out, so I saw the first Mamma Mia again, and I forgot how awesome and how amazing Mamma Mia is. And again, we kind of touch on it in the podcast, but I was never a big, you know, ABBA guy. I was never a big Mamma Mia guy, which is funny because it's kind of up my street. But like, I watched it when it came out back in the day. I don't know, 2008, I believe it came out, 2008, 2009 sort of time when I watched it, and I was like, yeah, it's Mamma Mia, it's great, good tunes, you know, Dancing Queen, you know, SOS and all these things, you know, you hear these songs, and then when they get played in nightclubs or whatever, or in, you know, functions for birthdays and stuff like that, people go mental, people just love these songs, it's because of Mamma Mia, you know, and that's great, people love the tunes and it reminds them of a film, and that's what you want, I suppose. However, I was just never one of those guys. I don't know every word to the songs and stuff like some people do. You know, and here's me going on about High School Musical and Hairspray and the Addams Family and things like that. And the Greatest Showman, and I love those ones, but Mamma Mia's there too, and Mamma Mia is just so fucking awesome. So when I watched that again, it was almost as if it was new to me, because I hadn't seen it in years, and I just kind of, yeah, Mamma Mia, you know, shrugged it off or whatever. But when I watched it, it was like, fair, this film is great, man. It's so good. It's fun, it's funny, it's feel good, the songs are fucking great. Amanda Seyfried is fucking beautiful. And then we went to go see Mamma Mia 2, and I have never, ever, ever in my life been more attracted to someone in my life than Lily James in Mamma Mia 2. If you haven't seen Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again in cinemas, go and see it, not because of the songs, even though they're great, not because of the acting, even though it's great, not because of certain things that happen, even though they're great. Go and watch it just to see fucking Lily James. Oh my god. Fell in love. And I don't even mean, oh look at her, she's got a top off. I don't mean it like that. I mean just fucking everything about her. Her acting, her singing, beautiful. Her character in the film, the type of character that she's portraying, she's playing young Donna, the way her mannerisms and stuff, her just gorgeousness, everything, 10 out of 10. Her. I gave the film Mamma Mia 2 a 9 out of 10. That's a high standard, and I'll tell you that. I don't give them out for free. Check out Mamma Mia 2. Film of the month, I'll say that. Podcast coming August 10th. And then, 2 more to go. So, the new Mission Impossible film has just came out. Fallout, I believe it's called. And don't shoot the messenger, but I've never seen the ones leading up to it. I've seen the first Mission Impossible, and it's relatively boring in my opinion. It's relatively slow, and not much happens. And I was like, ah, well, it was alright. Kind of like one of those ones you're kind of like, yeah, it was fine. So I never went back and watched the other ones. My plan was to watch them all before Fallout came out, or even back when Rogue Nation came out, you know what I mean? Mission Impossible 1 was kind of an okay film. And then I was thinking, oh, I'll probably try and watch the other ones to see Fallout. I don't think I'm going to manage to see it in the cinema. However, I watched this month, just a couple of days ago, Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise and the gang. And the Scottish guy, Dougray Scott. Interesting, because I'm normally quite good with Scottish actors and I'd never heard of him before. He looked a bit like James McAvoy, another successful Scottish actor. And it's funny, do you not think in the 90s, here's another thing, do you not think in the 90s, Scottish actors were in everything? Like, it was a great time for Scottish theatre and film. But nowadays, it's like, you don't really see any Scottish actors, which makes me really sad. And a bit put off But still, like, you see, you know, people like, and Trainspotting was massive, I suppose that was a big deal, but you see loads of Scottish actors back in the day, back in the 90s, they're in everything. Tend to be villains as well, but anyway. Yes, Mission Impossible 2, a much better film, I thought, than the first one. And even though it still wasn't great, I still really enjoyed it. A good action film, slow motion galore, and I think that's just because the time this film came out in 2000, I say the 90s, but early 2000 as well. Slow motion everywhere, and that must have been a thing back in the day. And you look at films around that time, sort of 1999 to 2002, these action films, you know, there's lots of slow motion stuff, and that's fine. And I guess that's another thing to look at, you know, films when they were released, you know. I wonder in 10 years' time if people will look back on films released this year and think, oh, it's so 2018. I wonder if that'll happen, but I definitely look back on this film and go, that's so 2000, you know. But yeah, it was fun, good action film. Happy to have seen it, and happy to have seen another one of the Mission Impossible films, and hopefully I'll try and catch them all, and then maybe, if not Fallout, maybe the next Mission Impossible film in like 2 or 3 years' time I'll see in the cinema. So yeah, can't beat, you know, Tom Cruise, just a good laugh. And then finally, I kind of touched on this in the podcast as well, but whatever, I'll talk about it here. On the plane home from America, they had a good little selection of films, you know, on the plane. But there's something about watching a film on the plane I don't like. That you're not fully, you know, you're knackered for one thing. You're half asleep. You're kind of, you know, you're tired and you're cold and you're hungry and you're on a plane. You know, it's like, it's kind of distracting. It kind of takes you away. You can't really get lost in films. But this past couple of times, it's been okay. I watched Last Flying Flag on the way to America, but that was in June, so it didn't count. I was that tough with this. I was that strict. Didn't count. And that was okay. Steve Carell, Bryan Cranston, it was really good. Oh, they were really good. It was a really sad film. So that was okay. I was kind of lost in that film, but a wee bit. I watched it in 2 parts. However, on the way home, I watched the film for the first time by the name of Crazy Stupid Love. Now, it sounds, I don't like the title of this film, by the way, because I'm going to now say it right now. This is one of my favourite films I've ever seen. And I don't like the fact it's called Crazy Stupid Love. It's a terrible title. It's a stupid title. It's a crazy title. I don't love the title. But I did love this film. This is one of my favourite films I've ever seen. And obviously, that could change when I watch it again. But in terms of surprise factor, I'd never heard anything about it and stuff. And just watching it first hand. Now, I'm on the plane, and as I said, it's kind of distracting and stuff. And if you've seen this film, you understand why I'm saying it's one of my favourite films of all time. And if you haven't seen the film, you're probably thinking, what are you on about? And that's what I was like. My sister told me to watch this film. My sister was like, you have to check out this film. You love Steve Carell, you love Ryan Gosling, you love Emma Stone. Watch this film. And I was like, Crazy Stupid Love, you know what I mean? You need to really be in the mood for that sort of film. You don't want to call it a chick flick, but you know, it's one of those ones you kind of like, yeah, whatever. You put it in the same sort of, you can watch it and you can enjoy it, but it's never going to be one at the top of the list. I'm telling you now, folks, if it's not on the top of your list, it feckin' should be. This film is amazing. It is hilarious. It is cringy. It pops you. It's exciting. There's twists and turns everywhere. It's unbelievable. I don't even want to talk about it anymore because I don't want to spoil it for you. And now you know there's twists coming. I didn't know there was going to be twists, and that made the twist even more mad. So good. Steve Carell is one of my favourite actors, if not my favourite actor of all time. Not of all time, but he's one of my favourite actors. And so is Ryan Gosling. Maybe not as much as Steve Carell. I like Emma Stone a lot. She's one of my preferred actresses anyway. And the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone is obviously prevalent because later they went on to do La La Land, which is another film I adored. But so you see the early moments of their relationship and their chemistry in this film, along with Steve Carell. Oh God, this film is so good. Kevin Bacon shows up. Crazy Stupid Love. I was crying, I was laughing, I was shouting, and on the plane. And my sister was funny. My sister was sitting next to me, 2 seats away from me, and she could see my screen when and she knew it was coming up because she loves the film as well. And she was looking at me and she was watching me for my reactions because she knew something was going to happen. You know what I mean? So, God, what a great film that was. I highly recommend Crazy Stupid Love. It's going to be in the Blu-ray collection soon because that's my class, my properly, approved movies collection is my Blu-ray collection because I don't need to buy the Blu-rays anymore. But I buy the ones that I love, that I'd give an 8 out of 10 or more. And Crazy Stupid Love is up at the 9 region, going on 10. Fucking brilliant film. So there you have it. There's the films I watched How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and Toy Story. 9 films that I watched this month of July of 2018. And I hope you all watched some great films this year as well. Let me know, this month I mean, let me know what you watched this past month in July. Let me know what you're planning to watch for August and for the rest of the year. Let me know any films you recommend me checking out this month coming, and maybe I can talk about them next month. But yeah, here we go. Thank you very much for watching, and follow me on Twitter at Cm42TV, and you can get the podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts and Podbean and Podomatic. Just search it on Google, just search it on YouTube, search it any way you want, even on iTunes, and you can find it on there. Subscribe to Cm42TV and check out as many videos as you can. Trust me, it really helps. And until next time, folks, thanks so much for watching. It has been a pleasure talking to you all. Mamma mia.